What's up, everybody? King Triple C here, the Olympic champion, flyweight champion, the bantamweight champion of the world. And I got a public service announcement to all you wannabe MMA casuals or MMA fans for that reason. You guys make sure to listen to my boy Story of the Fight with Will and Miro. You know why? Because Triple C said so. And if you don't, you can do me a favor and you can bend the knee to King Triple C 2.
Hey, Story of the Fight listeners, thanks for tuning in. Everybody's in for a special treat. It's not every day that we have an ex-kickboxing champion and a current MMA striking coach. This is a coach that has had the ability to touch a lot of lives out there and has had the ability to help a lot of fighters improve their striking. It was a lot of fun to talk to him. Will, what do you think?
Yeah, great guy. You could tell that his passion for the sport really is evident. Takes a lot of pride in what he's been able to do, not just as a striking coach, but also just to improve people's direction in life and how they are as people. We did use Zoom for the first time to record this, so I apologize for a couple technical difficulties that we may have had. A disconnect at one point and a pop-up that Zoom thought would be a good idea to put in the middle of a meeting. So that pops up. Didn't realize that the Nazis invented Zoom, but other than that, I think it was a great conversation that I think people will enjoy.
Yeah, it was great talking to him. Please give it a listen. Let us know what you think. There we go. There we are. There we go. How you doing?
Doing well, man. How you guys doing?
Fantastic, man. Just we were just trying to get everything figured out over here. It just so happened that my power went out like an hour ago. So I was scrambling and trying to get all this done because there's no way I wanted to miss this opportunity to talk to you, you know what I mean? And then like 5 minutes ago, power came back on. So it was meant to be, man.
It was meant to be then.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be. So first off, man, thank you so much for taking the time to hop on and talk to us, man. Again, I know you're a busy guy. You got a lot going on right now. I think you just flew out to Vegas today, right?
Yeah, again. But, my pleasure, man. You're not taking time away from me. If I couldn't have done it, I wouldn't tell you I could. So, no problem. And I appreciate you guys having me on. So
for sure, man. Well, my name is Romero. I go by Miro. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Will.
Nice to meet you, Will.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
And just to give you a little background about ourselves, man, we've been pretty big MMA fans, for quite some time. Both of us from California, right? And I recently moved out to Texas in 2017, and that's where I told you, I had the opportunity to start catching some XKO fights over here. And this is when I started learning more about you. And Will and I have kept in touch, throughout the years. And we figured, we talk about MMA so much. Everybody always asks us for our opinion in MMA. And we said, why not just start recording and maybe people will start listening and maybe people will be interested.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's where we're at right now.
That's awesome.
For us, it's just awesome that you're giving us the opportunity to talk to you, man. So.
Well, you better believe it, man. My pleasure, brother. Sure.
All right. Well, Will, do you want to go and get started, bro?
Yeah. I mean, the main thing, so we know who you are. So if anybody who's listening who doesn't know who you are, is there something that you want to say about your gym or anything like that, just to kind of introduce yourself and let people know what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, real briefly, I'm Durwyn Lamb. Been coaching in the game for 15 years. I'm 44 years old. I've been having a gym for almost 10 years. Used to be under Phalanx, MMA was the name, and then we transitioned over 7 years ago to this new spot we're at, and it's now called, we did switch it to Lamb Striking Academy, which is my last name, and then we went to Lamb 4, which demonstrates the elements of the stuff that we have there. Like I said, I've been coaching 15 years, boxing, MMA, kickboxing, and karate and taekwondo and martial arts. I've been doing martial arts off and on for about 36 years. Coached some guys, high-level guys. I was actually James Vick's head coach got him in the UFC, and then also Shauna Dobson, and then now Kevin Holland. Also trained Cody Fister, who's not in the UFC no more, but worked with him a little bit as well. So
That's awesome, man.
I've been around a long time, man. Just been coaching a long time. Had an awesome amateur boxing team, pro boxing team, amateur MMA team, and I was coaching MMA when MMA wasn't even that popular. So yeah, I was coaching MMA like in 2005, 2006. So I was been coaching a long time before it was even really that mainstream. I also worked with Johnny Bedford, who also used to be in the UFC as well. Trained him a little. So yeah, worked with a lot of those guys, man, in the local area. A lot of those guys became good fighters and good kickboxers and stuff like that. So been around for a while.
Yeah, definitely. You've been doing it for that long. So I know you've told Ramiro that both your parents were fighters. So how early was it that you got introduced to that kind of realm and really got your head into it?
Really early, man. Back then, obviously, we're talking about the late 70s and early 80s. So both of my parents were karate fighters. There was my dad was stepdad and biological father as well. My stepdad was one of my main instructors, but he was a full contact continuous fighter. Back then, it was a lot different. It wasn't watered down like it is now. I hate to say it, as far as karate goes.
Yeah.
Those guys would fight back then. And so I was exposed to it early. My mom started doing karate when I was like probably 3 or 4 years old. So I was going to the karate gyms and the big time karate gyms back then, like Pat Burleson and Roy Kerr, those guys were real big on the scene back then. So I was going to classes with my mom a lot and stuff like that. So I was exposed to it early. Me personally started taking classes when I was I was already kicking probably like 5 or 6 years old, but I started taking classes when I was about 7 years old is when I actually started training.
Okay. Right on. Let's see. When so you've been doing it so early on, you got into it. When did you kind of figure out that you wanted to start coaching people?
Man, it was weird. I was to be honest with you, it was like I was in a bad place before I got married, man. I was in the streets, I hung out in the streets. I was a young dude, and I was a street dude, man. Was affiliated with different situations I shouldn't have been affiliated in, and was kind of in a crossroad in my life trying to figure out where I was going to go. Mm-hmm. And I know I was intelligent and smart and had good brains and stuff, but just didn't always make the right decisions. And I was in between a hard and a rock place. And my wife at the time was my friend. And it was either like, go back to the streets and go do this and get in trouble, or, I moved in with her. And my son was born at the time, so I was trying to figure out I need to do something else different. So I moved in with her. And after I moved in with her in Dallas, I was living in Fort Worth. I decided, man, I want to fight again. I want to start getting back into martial arts. And so a guy that I was working with was training with a guy that happened to know my dad.
Oh, dang.
Former kickboxing champion, Steve Gowen. And so we had like the lineage there from all the back in the day guys to train with my dad and my uncle. So he knew my uncle, knew my dad. So I started working with him again, started fighting again.
Yeah.
And started kickboxing again. And my ex-wife my wife at the time was going with me and my stepson. And so she decided she wanted to fight too. And so we were both competing and stuff. And then, we moved back to Fort Worth. And so I had took over coaching my stepson and her. And I was coaching my stepson, and I built a amateur boxing team. Mm-hmm. And I had a bunch of guys, including my stepson, and we did Golden Gloves, won a lot of tournaments. It was cool. And then my ex-wife said she wanted to fight. And so I started training her.
Nice.
My first pro fighter. And got her ranked in the top 10 in the world in pro boxing for women. Mm-hmm. And then coaching my stepson, and then I built the team from there. And then that's when I ended up building my MMA team simultaneously. So I had an MMA team and a boxing team at the same time.
Damn.
And that's where I actually started, we was driving to Louisiana, and I was matchmaking as well too. I was matchmaking for a promoter in Louisiana, and I would put my guys on a fight card in MMA. So it'll be 1 week I'll be at a pro boxing fight, and then we'll drive and then go to Louisiana for an MMA fight. So that was like 2005, man. So that's how I actually started coaching, and then just kind of continued from there, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think it's something that, or I think it's something that doesn't get like the credit that I think it deserves, because like me and Ramiro have talked about how, in my personal opinion, combat sports, things like that. Oh, Ramiro got kicked out. Let me add him real quick. So in my personal opinion, combat sports, fighting, stuff like that, it for me, it's the truest sport. And it's something that it doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter what handouts you've given or you've been given. When you're actually in there competing against somebody, all that stuff disappears. It's just a person versus a person at that point, and it doesn't matter your background or anything like that. And I think that gets recognized, but I think coaches don't get the recognition that they get because people like you allow those types of people to prove themselves in those moments. You're the person that makes it accessible for people to even get their feet wet and see if it's something that they can handle, if that makes sense.
That's right.
Yeah, so I appreciate you for continuing to do that, getting into it, and then continuing to do it. Because I mean, you could have just stopped with training your current wife at the time, and stopped there, but instead you continue doing it, and now, I mean, look at all the people that are able to prove themselves and showcase themselves in those kind of moments.
Well, my vision of coaching and the way I think about coaching is a lot different than most coaches. So, and I say that to say that because I'm a person that has a great love for humanity, and I like seeing people do well, and I like to help people. And there's times that I've had hard times in my life and have nobody to really mentor me and steer me the right way. So because of my background in martial arts, my background in the streets, my background, going to jail and stuff, and being around the drug dealers and the gangsters and all that stuff, and just having a hard life actually helped me become a better man and become a better coach, once I was away from that life. So a lot of these guys that I train come from backgrounds of some of those ways. Or even if not, like you said, it might not have as hard as life, but just don't know how to deal with the mental side of life, the spiritual side of life. And because of my spiritual faith and spiritual belief, the trials and tribulations that I've occurred over time, I've used those things to elevate myself as a man and also help these young men and women become not only better fighters, but better human beings, which is really, for me, the biggest thing for me is that you can be a great fighter, but if I can't help you transition yourself into a better human being in your life, how to deal with things in life, with your family, your children, your kids, your wife, your sister, brother, whoever, and can teach you some valuable points of spirituality and things like that, that everything that I coach and everything I do goes in value. Because being a good striking coach is something that was gifted to me. That we all have gifts, and I have the ability to coach and the ability to see the eye for the fight game and teach things from different levels. Some people can teach it from a different eye, from a different spirit. But none of that matters if I didn't get people to become friends and fellowship with each other, for them to trust me and I trust them. And with that being said, you don't always win everybody. I mean, I've almost stopped coaching at one time because of just taking a lot of nonsense from guys, taking guys to high levels and they're turning back on me to do these certain things. I couldn't let that change who I am as a man, because there's going to be somebody that do appreciate it, and other people that do appreciate it, and it has. And coaching has led to me to do motivational speaking, all these other ventures that I'm doing in my life now, is podcasts and motivational speaking and these kind of things. So coaching is not just, for me, was not just limited to just teaching people how to punch and kick. It was also teaching people how to be great individuals and also elevate me as a man in my life. all the other features that I'm a part of now.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool. And I think there's probably people that you've trained that even if they don't acknowledge that they're becoming a better person through that process or acknowledge it like in their own mind, I would imagine subconsciously it's still making differences in their life and shaping them to be a better person, whether they recognize it or not.
Right.
You know.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So that, I mean, it's very cool.
Well, most of the time they do recognize it, man. It means a lot. You know, it's really touching them. My phone blows up almost every day from somebody recurrent, recent, or in the past that are just messaging me some kind words like, hey, you know, you really changed my life, or you really saved my life. And when I hear those things, it's very humbling, and I attack that as such, a very humbling spirit. And so what I do with that, instead of making it an arrogant situation, I make it more of a situation how I can keep helping people, and I can keep getting better at doing those things. And it makes me want to work harder to keep reaching out to people and things of that nature.
Yeah, that's pretty damn admirable.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Will, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. So, do you like to be called Coach D, Coach Lamb, Durwyn? What would you rather be called?
Man, you know, most people call me Coach D, and it doesn't matter. You know, I've got so many different nicknames and stuff like that. But I guess of late of the years, people's call me Coach D.
All right. Well, I hope you don't mind me calling you Coach D then.
That's
right?
all good, brother.
All right, Coach D. You know, I think I had messaged you. That's one of the reasons that I started paying more attention to you and your work, right? So when I had an opportunity to go to some local XKO fights, you know, everybody seems to be in their own world. And in some cases, it almost takes a level of being self-centered to be able to succeed in this sport, right?
That's right.
But one thing I noticed about you is you had an ability to connect with some of the fans, even though you didn't know them.
Yes.
But one of the things I noticed as well is your ability to connect with your fighters.
Right.
So with me being so into MMA, I don't just necessarily stare at the fighters, but I also take a look at the coaches. I take a look at the refs. I see how much the judges are paying attention.
Yes.
Whenever you're yelling stuff out of the corner, I check to see how the fighter responds.
Right.
And specifically, I notice how your fighters respond very well to what you're yelling out of the corner.
Yes,
but
sir.
the biggest thing to me, my man, was when, because I've seen some of your fighters win, and I've seen some of your fighters go through losses in these events. But whether they're going through victory, the celebration of victory, or their agony of defeat, I've noticed that you have the ability to really connect to them, and they right away they respond to you in the corner.
That's right.
Right. So hearing you explain how, you know, all your life experiences have brought you to this point now where you're able to connect with some of these fighters, you know, that might come from similar backgrounds. It just makes so much sense for me now. And this is why I love having these types of conversations with somebody like yourself, because it helps me understand the background, how you got here, and why it is that you're so good at what you do and why your fighters respond so well to you, man. So just props to you, because it seems like you have that genuine connection with them as human beings.
That's right. I appreciate that, man. It means a lot.
No, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So thank you so much for giving us a glimpse at your background, right? And how it is that you've gotten to where you are. Do you mind if we transition a little bit more towards UFC, the fights and stuff, right? And for me, thinking about how much you connect with your fighters, one of the things that I'm really curious about is, you know, you have a fighter in Holland that is ready to fight on Saturday.
That's right.
All of a sudden, what was it, 5 minutes before you guys walk out?
Less than that. I actually found out the people at home knew before we did. We was actually in the back about to walk out, and I actually caught it. I caught it before they did, before Kevin did, and before the other coach should. I was watching TV and I heard to say the fight was canceled. I thought I was hearing things, but that's what it was. It happened.
That's insane. I can't imagine the roller coaster of emotions in that locker room at that point. But, you know, how do you go from being prepared for Giles, right? And within, you know, a week, now you're preparing for a different fighter. Like what does it take from your end to make sure that your fighter is physically prepared, and in some cases, I think more importantly, emotionally prepared to go from, you know, having this fight canceled and in 1 week finding somebody new.
Yeah. Well, there's a saying that we have, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And so that, and then let's be real here. When we're talking about fighters, there's different fighters that can do these things. There's different fighters that can't. I know all my guys' emotional abilities, physical abilities, and mental abilities. Kevin has to be probably one of the strongest mentally guys that I've known, that I've trained, to be able to do that. I mean, he's used to taking fights on short notice. He's done that even before he was in the UFC. Honestly, the fight with Gills was a replacement fight. We took that fight a week before. So Gills had another opponent, and then we called. Kevin saw that and said, "Hey man, I want to fight," and they gave us that fight on a week notice. So he's always been able to do that. It's pretty interesting, but a lot of guys can't. A lot of guys can. But he's one of the guys that can do that. And when you know a guy's mental state, you treat them accordingly to that. Whether some are going to be a little stronger than others, some will be not. But he has the ability to do that. He's been doing that since I've been coaching him. There's times we've taken fights on 2-week notice, few day notice, 1 week notice. I remember one time he fought one of the toughest, baddest southern guns on the planet, in Rafael Lovato. He fought him literally on a 1 day notice.
Wow.
And that guy's a killer and has some success too. This before he was training with me. Matter of fact, right after that fight is when he started training with me. But he went in there, took the fight on 1 day notice. Nobody wanted to fight him. Went in there, threw a flying knee, landed some strikes, and just ended up getting submitted. But that was on a 1 day notice, man. So, I mean, he's got the mental capability to do these things. So that's what that is.
Yeah. When, I'm glad you said how you know your fighters, like mentality and what they can handle mentally. And I think it's something that it's been getting brought up a lot kind of recently is like corners throwing in the towel for their fighters. Right. And you'll see people online where there's a huge outcry during this one particular fight or another fight where they're saying their corner should have thrown the towel and they should have done this. They should have called the fight. But I don't think people realize, in some cases, yeah, maybe they should, but at the same time, we don't know that fighter. You know, the corner does know that fighter, so they know mentally where they're at in those potential breaking points, and whether or not to throw that towel in. So I think I'm glad you said that, because I don't think people really realize, like, hey, we just watched them on TV fight. We don't know what they can and can't handle. You know?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Let's see. Another question that I had isn't necessarily particular to like your background or any of your fighters specifically, but it's something that a lot of people are talking about right now, and there's things in MMA that it's still such a new sport that they're trying to improve little things here and there. And one of the things that a lot of people are kind of pulling for or requesting is open scoring. So corners and the fighter know, hey, at the end of round 1, we know what it was scored. At the end of round 2, okay, now we know we're down two rounds to none. We have to get a finish here in the third. What do you think of that? And do you think that should be implemented?
Well, I think in order for that to happen, we got to change the judging, meaning the people that they put out there to judge, because that would still be kind of invalid if the judges are still horrible. You know, yeah. I mean, because you could be thinking, and we can all be thinking, this guy, you guys at home, we're in the corner, we can all be thinking, oh, we won that round. And then the judges come back and say, the other guy won the round. So I think that the judging needs to change. And I'm not bashing judges, but I got to be honest and tell the truth. And sometimes the truth, it does hurt. And at the end of the day, the judging is horrible. There's times where people's caught judges looking off, not paying attention to the fight, those kind of things. A lot of these guys are older individuals that never had any combat experience. I believe that in order to do right by the fighters that work hard, and by the promotion and by the people that are watching these fights, I think that we need to do a different system. I don't know if it's ever going to happen because people have been calling for this for years, but I believe we need to do a different system where they need to put judges and up there that has actually been in martial arts for over quite a time, many years, or former fighters or things like this, or former coaches and stuff like that. These are the kind of people that need to be the judges, because these are guys who are going to judge because they know and understand they've been there. So yes, I would agree with the open scoring deal if the judges were different.
Yeah, it's like, let's fix one problem before the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that makes sense.
When we talk about different things like that, I mean, one of the things that we've talked about on our podcast before too, Coach D, is the scoring system in general, right? When we talk about the fact that we've kind of grandfathered in an old school scoring system from boxing.
Right.
And I think this is part of the reason why we run into these issues where you have judges that in some cases are judges from boxing before they were ever judges from MMA, you know, and in some cases you see a fighter like James Krause threatening and having somebody's back for, 3 minutes of the round and they lose the round.
Right.
So is there anything specific within the scoring system itself that you would like to see changed first? Because it's kind of hard with an old school boxing system, right?
Yeah, well, that's a double-edged sword there, because you can also say, like, if they was going by the real, like, I guess the boxing system as well. Okay, for instance, we looked at the Chris Gutierrez fight this weekend with the newcomer Cody, can't remember his last name, but Chris Gutierrez is also a kid that cross-trained at my gym, home back in Texas, been known for years and worked with him. Great young man. But so let's go to that. So he got scored a 10-8 round against him the first round, which I won't argue with that. It's valid. The guy had controlled him for 4 minutes and 50-something seconds. It's the whole round. We get that. Okay, but he comes back and wins the next 2 rounds. Now, on the third round, he pretty much just dominated him the whole round. So it's like, why couldn't that be a 10-8 score? And I say this, to say that is because double-edged sword, meaning that in boxing, if you get dropped, you day count. That's already a point against you, But in MMA, we don't have that. So if you drop somebody a few times, that doesn't really get scored, I guess, as well. So if we were doing it like that, I thought he clearly won the fight. Now, the one judge, 10-8. Now, if you go through the system that they're doing right now, I guess it was a draw because they gave the next 2 rounds 10-9, right?
Yeah.
And it was 10-8. So it's, I didn't like it. I don't like it. I think it does need to be changed. So, and if it is going to be changed, it need to be changed on both sides. Because if you say that you're really judging on a old school boxing system, then it's not really, it can be 100% the case if when you hit somebody and drop them, they don't get a standing egg.
Yeah, true.
Something like that. So
that's a good point. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that I think they're getting more aggressive with scoring 10-8 rounds as of late, which is good. Because I think 10-8 rounds help mix it up. Because if say me and Ramiro were fighting, and in the first round,
to be fair, Will, we're in different ways.
Yeah, but say we were, and in the first round I dropped him, right? It was a competitive round, but I did drop him, and it was a clean knockdown. He got wobbled, he fell, and then the second round, it's a pretty back and forth round. Nobody gets dropped, and he had the slight edge. More often than not, they're going to be both 10-9 rounds, and at that point, if it's a close round and I drop him, and then the second round is a close round, he edges me out, how can they possibly be weighted the same value, right?
Right.
So I think it's weird because they've been told they're supposed to give more 10-8 rounds, but it seems like there's still some judges, and this goes back to what you were saying, there's still some judges who want to see you basically murder somebody, and that's when they'll give you a 10-8 round. Other than that, it's a 10-9, and that can't keep happening.
No, it can't. And people get hurt like that too.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I agree.
Crazy. I saw one of the things I saw, and this is kind of a personal thing that you don't have to give too much detail on because of like you're affiliated with Derek Holland and stuff, but I saw that Dana White, he said that the people, because there were so many cancellations in that whole card, with yours being like the craziest one. But he said that the fighters who had cancellations, they're not getting their show money. And they're getting some money, but not their show money, which is part of the problem for me, because I guess technically the fight didn't start, so they can kind of skirt out and not pay the show money, like I guess legally. But the whole show money versus win money thing, what do you think about that? Because I know there's some fighters who their contract states, this is my lump sum. I don't have a show money or win money. I get paid this no matter what. But those are ex-champions or current champions and things like that. All these other guys, it's not like the win money is an incentive to win. They're going out there to win every time. So what do you think about that show win money kind of situation? A lot of people are also kind of trying to get that out of there as well.
Yeah. Well, I think they need to pay the fighters. Bottom line, if you show up to fight, it's not your fault that the fight got canceled. Once again, this is a big thing for me, and I'll just tell the truth. I mean, in most organizations, or a lot of organizations, you get your show money. I mean, you did your job, you made the weight, you came there to fight. Unfortunately, it's a sad thing that he passed out, and we hope that he's okay. But I think on good faith, people come out here. They spend money, a lot of their own money, and these fighters do a lot of their own stuff. And so, these guys aren't getting paid the most money that you would think they should get paid. So I believe that. I mean, you multi-billion-dollar company, pay your fighters. They're the ones putting on the shows. They're the ones doing the things for you at the drop of the hat. Especially a guy like Holland's ready to take the fight any time. It's not just him. I speak up for all guys. I feel like when it comes to the show money, I believe that's something you should do. I mean, just on good value, good faith. Like if I was a promoter, I wouldn't feel right by not doing it. Yeah. So I would feel horrible not doing it. That's just a conscience that I carry around with me. And I believe on good faith and good morals and good standing and good value that you should do that. And I think it's even take all the moral stuff out. That's just the right thing to do.
Yeah.
For a business standpoint, it's the right thing to do. So, let alone, no matter what your moral beliefs are, spiritual beliefs are, it's just the right thing to do. For a business standpoint, it's the right thing to do. And so, but you see a lot of guys, even at the high level, complaining about their purse and complaining about, now these are top guys are complaining about it. And so it's not just, if everybody's saying the same thing. I remember my mom told me when I was younger, she said, son, I was getting in trouble a lot. She said, son, if everybody's saying the same thing about you, then it's not everybody, it's you.
Yeah.
So if all the fighters or most of the fighters are complaining about this, then there needs to be some things that need to be looked at. And if it's not being looked at and if it's being overlooked, then it's just I have a opinion and judgment of character of who you are. If that's what the case is. But I feel like I'm not saying anybody are bad people. I'm not saying anybody's doing anything wrong. I'm just saying, I'm saying from my perspective and what I see, and I believe that right is right and business is business, and you should take care of that.
Awesome.
Yeah, well said. Makes sense.
One of the things that I wanted to ask him as well, Will, Coach D, is around, it kind of has to do with fighter pay as well. And one of the hot topics that we had recently was around fighters that miss weight. And I think recently we had Frankie, Frankie Martinez?
Jonathan Martinez?
Yeah, that's who it was, who ended up missing weight.
Is who we fought.
Yeah, versus Signs, missing weight, right? And in this case, I think that it was pretty evident that he had an advantage, right? Coming in, not having dropped all the weight, and only losing, in this case, 30% of his purse. We were having a discussion thinking that the punishment for missing weight isn't severe enough. So I was wondering if I can get your take on that right now. And if you don't think it is severe enough, what would you like to see done?
I think 30% is a lot of money out the purse. I mean, that's a lot. Sometimes people miscalculate and it happens, I'm not saying it's always right, but everybody, sometimes your body just misfires or discalculate, or some people just don't flat out care. I think it's like from a case to case basis, depending on how much you weigh over, like I guess, and speaking of Jonathan, he also trained with me for the beginning of his career for a couple of years as well, back home in Texas. So, but, I think, how many pounds was he over? 4?
4.5?
4.5. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too much. I mean, in that case, that's a lot. That's a lot. And I don't know what happened, but that's a lot. You got to be a little bit more on point about that. I mean, he's not missed weight before. From my understanding, he has not missed weight before. So something happened, and we can see what happens after that. But taking a person's whole purse because they miss weight, I think that's a little extreme. Used to do 20%. I guess they bumped it up some. So 30%, it's pretty steep. I mean, he really, 30%, 40%, 4.5 pounds over, man. I mean, 30% of your purse, man, that's a lot. So, it's a lot.
So you're saying it might be good right now then, and case by case basis, if it seems like somebody was completely negligent, then we take a look at that and see what might be different.
Yeah, like, okay, guys coming in, I don't know, 4.5 pounds is a lot, man. That's, I mean, I love Jonathan. I love the kid to death. I love him to death, but we're just talking straight. A lot of pounds overweight.
Yeah. And like you said, we don't know if something like went drastically wrong during that whole process. We don't know if there's like a legitimate thing that happened. What would you think about, this is something that I've kind of like floated around in my head. What if you, so in that case, Jonathan missed weight, Frankie Saenz took the fight. What if when he agrees to take the fight, he also is offered like an immediate rematch clause if he loses? What would you think about something like that?
Oh, I mean, that's fair. I think it's kind of hard being that there's so many fighters in the UFC. And it's a fight that is not like a high level fight yet that would do that, but I think it's fair. I don't know if they would consider that. I believe it's fair, but I think because of the caliber of fighters there are, if it was like a championship fight or like a contender fight to get to the championship or something like that, then I would think that they would do that.
Makes a little bit more sense at that point.
Because the guys are so new in their
They're
career.
still trying to climb the ladder.
Exactly. But I do think that it's fair.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting that he worked with you, because it sucks. For me, it sucks that he missed weight, because that becomes the story kind of when, and now we're not talking about how like phenomenal he looked. He looked fantastic in that fight.
Oh, he's great. When he came to my gym, he came from Pleasant to train. He just came to cross train a few times. And if you would have told me then that kid was going to be in the UFC now, I'd have been like, no way. But then I know his coach. His coach is a really known, good striking coach, old school guy. Knew my dad and my uncle back in the martial arts circuit back in the day. Tommy Alcazar, great martial arts, karate coach, kickboxing. So yeah, the kid can fight. I mean, he's good. I mean, he belongs in the UFC. Let's see what happens next fight. Hopefully he'll get it under control, make weight. I mean, if he's haven't missed before, I've known him for a long time, not known him to miss weight. So.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that he has missed weight, and I think he's even fought at a weight class below successfully and have made weight at a lower weight class. So I don't think it's going to be like a repeat kind of deal with him. I'd be surprised.
No. What weight was this fight at?
I think it was 145.
Really?
I could be wrong. I think he used to fight at 135, right?
Yeah, he's a 25er.
Okay, maybe it was at 135 then, and he used to fight at 125. Yeah,
okay,
it could be.
It might have been it. Maybe. I think this was a short notice fight as well.
Well, the whole card was full of short notice fights.
Yeah, so I believe that he was like probably got called, because this could happen too. He probably got called on short notice and probably was like a little heavier than expected. And usually he fights at 25 and they say, okay, you're going to take this fight. Let's do this at 35 and still miscalculating and stuff. Had he had the cap, that's probably what happened.
Yeah, I could see that happening. That makes sense.
Yeah. But it goes to say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach
hard
D,
to do.
one more thing for you here, specifically around Holland, right? Since you've been spending a lot of time with Holland lately. Will and I talked about both you and Holland on our last podcast. Really high on Holland. Both of us, predicted him winning that fight before it was canceled. So I was just thinking, from somebody that gets to spend so much time with him, what is it that you get to see that maybe we don't get to see on the other end that makes you see Holland being very successful in the UFC going forward?
He's young, really young still. Believe it or not, he's only just turned 27. And he has a lot of gifts, natural gifts that a lot of fighters don't have. There's a lot of fighters I've trained that have to work 30 times harder than he did to get some kind of results. But he's gifted. He was gifted before he came to me. When Kevin came to me, he already had fights. He had already a lot of fights. He had a kung fu background, and he was already doing jiu-jitsu since he was 18 years old. I've been training for 5 years now. And all I did was bring him in and sharpen him up on his balance and his boxing and straighten some of his kicks out and stuff like that. But he was already talented. You could put you in a corner with Kevin, he probably can still win the fight. I mean, people that don't really coach, he can still probably win a lot of fights. But on the flip side of that, with athletes like those, sometimes they do tend to slack in other areas because of the gifts that they do have. And me personally, if he stays on point, stays focused, keeps training and doing what he does, I can see him beating anybody in the division because he has the tools to do so. He's 6'4", have the longest reach in middleweight history at 82 inches, 82 and a half or something like that, 81, 82. Long, athletic, strong, gifted, fast, quick, light on his feet. Also is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. People didn't know that, but he is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Under Travis Lutter was a well-respected, known, and my guy won the Ultimate Fighter. Actually, Travis Lutter won the Ultimate Fighter. So
yeah,
he's a black belt under Travis Lutter. Has had a kung fu background since he was since last name was a teenager. Then he came with me, who's been in the game for a long time. One of the top guys in my area that's been around, and then add that on top of his already ability and his gifts and his mind. One of his biggest things is his mind. The guy's not scared. He's not scared, and he's fearless. Fight anybody, and he has fun out there. He likes to laugh, joke, and talk to the fighters that are fighting. He has so much stuff just going. He's young, so he still got some things to work on, I guess, as a young man, as we all did. I mean, when I was 27, had a lot of things to work on. And, I can't tell you that I wasn't where he was at 27. That guy's 27 years old, already has his own home and family and kid and taking care of business and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of things I can see. What I want to see more is that, obviously, as an older guy and been there, I want to see more from him and want to see him focus. And if he keeps doing that, man, the guy can be a champion.
That's awesome. I see that too. And when you watch his fights, like you said, he's talking during his fights, and some people have their opinions about that, and they can have their opinions, but it seems like I've even seen him responding to you guys in the corner while he's fighting. And like, what's that like as a cornerman when your guys are literally talking back to you?
Well, it's fun because it's like the pressure's off. There's no, it's fun. He talks to his opponents, and it's funny, man, because he can be rough sometimes, but he doesn't do that to be a jerk. Like, that's just who he is. Like, I think maybe that's a part of like dealing with his nerves or fights or whatever. I don't know, but he has fun, man. I mean, he's in there. He's not being a jerk to the guys. He just talks. And maybe it could be annoying to the fighters because they're trying to fight, but he's not going out his way to be that way. That's just who he is. He likes to, play. Yeah. He'll even say, "Hey man, nice hit or nice punch." Like he'll tell him, "Oh man, it was funny when he was fighting Thiago Santos." And we took that fight on a couple week notice.
Yeah,
it's a killer, and he had some good success against Thiago. And he was fighting, and Thiago was on his guard. He was punching. He's like, "All right, man, look, let's stop punching each other like this. We're both tired." Just cool stuff like that. He does those kind of things. Or we'll be in the corner, and he'll be like, "Hey, coach, you like that?" Or, "Hey, or what do you want me to do right here?" Or, "Hey, what y'all doing? How y'all doing in the corner? Y'all doing all right?" I mean, it's fun, man. And so it takes also a lot of the steam off the anxiety and pressure off the coaches and stuff like that, having a good time.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah, but don't get it twisted. It's funny because he does that, but it seems like he's not focused. He's very in tune with what's going on in that fight. Very aware of what's going on in the fight, knowing what's going on at all times. So he's not just sitting there reckless. He knows exactly what's going on in that fight. Win, lose, or draw, he knows what's going on.
Yeah, that's cool. I think one of my favorite things to see, and it's something that with all these fights with no crowd that we're getting a lot more of, is when fighters do go back to the corner, we can hear the coach's advice and that whole dynamic between fighters and coaches. And we've seen, at least from an outside perspective, really good examples of it and some not so great examples of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, I think your team and his, your guys' dynamic has to be ranked up at least top 3, top 5 fighter coach relationships that you can see in the corner, that back and forth,
Yeah.
That's cool to see when there's a fighter who's listening to their coaches, getting good advice from the coaches and responding back saying, "Yeah, I acknowledge what you're saying." And that kind of back and forth is always cool to see.
Right. Yes, it is. Yes,
I think maybe part of the reason that Holland's becoming a fan favorite rather quickly too, right, is because when you see fighters having fun in the octagon, you have fun watching them. It's great. You know what I mean? So I hope that continues because man, he's so fun to watch, and you're fun to watch coaching him too. So
yeah, I appreciate that. Well, when you got a guy like that who's willing to fight anytime, any place, anywhere, and it's like, we was here last weekend, bro. I literally left Sunday. I literally left 2 days ago. I literally went home Sunday. Hung out. My son, I have a son that's 19. Hung out with my son. Hung out with my lady. Went and picked up my daughter. She's 3 years old. Hung out with them. Did some laundry. Washed clothes. And Monday night, literally last night, about 10 o'clock, is when I found out my flight for today. And we was back on the airplane together, and we got to the airport, and Kevin was full of energy, man. He's always got energy, always. Coming to the airplane, had us doing pull-ups and dips on the side link and stuff, and we just having fun. And it was a good flight. Got out here, and man, same thing, ready to rock and roll again. You know what I'm saying? So don't have a lot of weight to cut, so we're having fun, man.
Is this I haven't seen? Is this one at 170 or 185?
Is 185.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So the guy he's fighting is a guy that just actually fought Friday.
Yeah, he just fought. I just saw that. Yeah, he fought recently.
So that's where we're at. But in my gym, in my career as a coach, all my guys seen all styles. We've seen the jiu-jitsu guys, the wrestlers, the strikers. For me, unfortunately, for them, is that there's not, to me, a lot of great strikers. I'm very hard on people with striking because I'm a striking coach and I've been doing striking my whole life. So I'm not impressed with a lot of the striking. I want to be, but I'm not. So I'm not really worried about what any guy striking would oppose to us. And I mean that from anybody in the UFC, even some of the top level strikers like Israel, who I'm a fan of. I wouldn't be worried about Kevin fighting him, at all. I know how to adjust as a coach. I know how to put things together. And if a student is willing, and Kevin's he's weird, man. He picks up things so quick. And so it's easy to coach. I don't have to say much to him. We go over some things. So all those things are a whole circle of things that come together for me as a coach and even as a fighter.
Yeah. So That's cool that you're a hard person to impress with like striking. Is there anybody in the UFC that you think maybe doesn't get enough credit for their striking abilities? Someone that does impress you?
Well, I've named. I mean, the ones that do impress me. Over the years, I've liked Frankie Edgar through the years.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva, obviously. A fan of John Jones striking, which is kind of cool because my uncle's actually talking with John Jones. Now, the uncle that I told you about that I grew up with, he's actually talking with John Jones right now. John Jones goes to my uncle's church, and my uncle's been mentoring.
Wow.
Yeah, been mentoring stuff. But I like him. Conor McGregor, very impressed with his ability. I think he has some of the best striking ever in the octagon. As far as his striking, his distance, his range, his accuracy. But I think, as I'm sure we can create more names as I'm talking. I'm saying these are the names off top, but
yeah,
I like some of these guys striking. I like Amanda Nunes is striking. I like Holly Holmes is striking. I like a lot of those things. I'm sure even when I get off the phone with you, I'll probably be like, oh yeah, I like him too.
Yeah, that's how it goes. That's always how it goes.
But I'm really hard on guys with striking because I like seeing Chris striking. I like seeing. I teach my MMA fighters to fight like boxers, upper body, and karate guys and Muay Thai guys, lower body. I like movement. I like range. I like distance. I like timing. I like defense. I like all that kind of stuff. Those are stuff I look for. Footwork, how you move your feet, when you move your feet, how you move your feet. If you have the ability to keep the fight in the middle of the cage instead of backing up as big as that cage is, can you keep the fight in the middle and work in circles and angles? Those are things I look at. Not just people just throwing. I really don't enjoy fights. I know a lot of people like these kind of fights, but I do not enjoy fights. So people just swinging back and forth and making it fight for show. I like seeing setup. I like seeing jabs. I like seeing the right hand come through. If you're left-handed, left hand come through. I like body shots. I like combinations.
Body shots are my favorite.
Chris combination. I like the front kicks, the side kicks that Kevin used, the turning back kicks, wheel kicks, stuff like that. I like those crisp things. I like good balance when people throw it. I don't like people throwing stuff just to be throwing it because it's something cool. I like people to know what they're doing. When I watch you, I want to know, man, this guy has taken the time to perfect his art. And that's what I look for striking.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Frankie Edgar because he's been one of my favorite fighters since way, way back in the day. And I mean, I have limited technical striking knowledge, but he's always somebody that has mesmerized me with his footwork. The way he moves around is just, you can just watch his feet and be satisfied, Good guy.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Will, do you have anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much all my questions that I had.
Right on. Well, Coach D, man, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to, talk to Will and myself again. I've been watching your work from afar, have respected it, and I think that the sky's the limit for you and the rest of the fighters that are working with you. I said it on the last podcast, and I'll say it again. I think you're one of the most underrated coaches in the game, period. Right. So it's just a matter of time, man. And hopefully when you blow up here, and it's not a matter of if you guys win this weekend, but when you win this weekend, hopefully we're able to get you back on the podcast sometime soon.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing else. You heard a guy named Trevor Whitman?
Yes, of course.
Okay. He's a friend of mine. And I could tell you something that he said about me. Man, it touched me. 2011, I had a guy named Randy Virio. We went and fought this guy. And he was so impressed with my guy's movement and footwork. He came up to me, we talked, and we exchanged numbers, and we stayed friends through the years. And shortly after I came back from Colorado from the fight, he made a Facebook post. And he said, and this was very humbling because, he's one of the first top striking guys in the UFC, but he made a post and he said, I got a chance to meet Durwyn Lamb, and my guy, he made a long post about me. He goes, just know one thing, the world will know this guy one day. And he was like, he's one of the best striking coaches I've ever seen. It was pretty cool, man. And we stayed friends through the years. We text, and once in a while we text and stuff like that. And just cool guy, man. And it means a lot to hear that from a guy like that. And I didn't get into this to be popular, but we all pay our dues, and I've paid mine for a lot of years. I always tell people, if you had some of the guys that stayed with you, like James Vick and Dobson and these guys, if you had these guys that stayed with you and helped you build your stable and helped you build your gym and team, then the coaches would get more recognition. But these guys get off these shows and let people get in their ear and their head, and they move around. I just can't let that change me. I still got a job to do, and in due time, everything's an appointed time. And when God sees fit for that time to happen, and that time will happen. In the meantime, we keep doing my job and keep touching people's lives, which is the most important thing. And doing that. And when those times come, I've had a lot of people give me a lot of love through the years in this game, and I'm proud of that, whether it was on a local level or a global level. So I'm happy about that. So I appreciate you guys calling me, inviting me to your podcast. It means a lot to me, and I appreciate your kind words that you said to me, man. And I take those things, I put them in my heart, and I drive with them. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. And like I was telling you earlier, I mean, with the sport being the sport that it is, and people can prove themselves, and no matter where they come from, again, just a thank you for opening a door to allow people to even attempt that. That doesn't get the credit that it deserves, in my opinion. And if there's anything in the future that you want to talk about or anything like that, or you want to maybe talk about your gym, a new change in your gym or anything like that, you can always hit us up, and we can help spread word as much as we can.
All right, will do, man. I appreciate you, brothers, man, a lot.
Of course.
Thanks,
all right,
Coach.
take it easy.
Good luck this weekend.
Yeah, good luck.
Right, brother. Thank you. Y'all have a good day. God bless you, fellas.
God bless.
Take
All
care.
right, take care. All right.
All right, so that was it. Hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed talking to Coach D. Again, Coach D owns his own gym over here in the Fort Worth area. I'm very lucky to have him as a local guy over here. If anybody's listening to it in this area, in the DFW, give his gym a shout out. Go check it out. It's Lamb Force Striking Academy over here in Fort Worth. Will, anything else you want to say before we cut this out?
No, just really appreciate. Big thanks to him for coming on. That's our first guest of this show, and hopefully we'll have many more. It really means a lot with someone, or to have someone of his stature to pop on our show and give us some time. Really appreciate that. And again, apologies for some of the technical issues. We're still working out some kinks on this show.
That's all I got. Thanks for listening to the Story of the Fight.
If you want to keep updated with what we're doing, you can follow us at Story of the Fight on Instagram. And if you want to submit anything that you want us to talk about or have any questions about anything, you can email us at storyofthefight@gmail.com.
Also, don't forget to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, and when you do, that little bell pops up right next to it. Click on that as well so you get notified whenever we do anything new, whenever we upload anything new. And also, don't forget to hit that like button. It goes a long way for us, everybody. Thanks a lot for listening to Story of the Fight.